Well, here I am again on Eglwysilan Common. It's early in the morning. Left Gwyneth sleeping in bed. I'm up here for a quiet hour just with a paint box. There's a farm behind me. I'd like to get down on board. It's a view I've passed many times, crossing from Ystrad Mynach and Caerphilly over to the church where I ministered in Nelson. And this is the far end of the common, just as you drop down into Nelson. And it's a lovely, lovely spot. I've got bacon and sausage, black pudding, waiting at home in the fridge. Maybe I'll cook breakfast when I get back. So the very thought of that will keep me going the next hour. It's a little bit fresher, but there we are. Means you paint all the quicker. And if I just take you around, you can see more of the area. The cows in the field here behind me. And I'm a bit torn. I'm not sure what angle to take regarding the farm, but then again, always pays to walk around and some quick sketches and then go for it. So welcome to join me today, and I'll share something with you about an amazing character who is buried on Eglwysilan Common in Eglwysilan Church, and tell you a bit about him later. Well, here I am again on Eglwysilan Common, and I'm going to have a go at this farm, and an angle I've chosen is away from the road. And what I might do is do another one a week or two from here, different angle completely. And so focal point, it's going to be the actual farm building itself, and you've always got to keep your focal point off center, or otherwise it gets boring. It's got to be, there we are. I think that's about it really. So we've got some trees up here, and there we go. We got some fir trees, taller, can be different colour. So you're looking for interest all the time. And you can see how those are higher than that. They'll be a different colour, more bluey green. But if I block these in roughly where they're going to go, you can see how the farm will soon stand out there. And then always got to watch these, don't run away here, these lines. Always got to put a hedge or something to stop it running away, and sort of keeps the eye in the picture. Got a hill coming down there. And then there's a wall that goes up around here. Now, always got to be careful with walls and with gates. When you're out in the countryside, we're taught always to keep the gate closed. But when it comes to painting, it is the opposite. You actually leave the gate open, because you're leaving it open for the viewer to make their way in and round to the place of interest. You're taking the viewer on a journey. It's your painting. Don't be a slave to what you're painting. It's an impression, but you can see how already now that will lead itself up into that farm. And gotta be careful here, because there'll be light on this wall. So I don't want the wall to just darken the base basically, and then light it up there. But now you don't want that hill come down that way there. And basically that is it. Right, time to get a bit of colour in here now. So I don't want to labour the sky. We've got so much going on. I'm going to want this farm to stand out. So not a complicated sky. Always remember, blue is always darker above. Aerial perspective, it gets lighter the further away you go. So again, I'm not going to labour this, just want a lighter blue down here to what we got up there. And just this moment, just getting paint on the paper for now. First coat, and then when it dries I can come at it again. And right, time to work on everything else now. I mentioned about somebody that is buried in Eglwysilan Church, and there's a grave there to William Edwards, and he was known in his day as Edwards the Builder. He built the bridge in Pontypridd that spans the River Taff, and when he built it in 1749, it was one of the industrial marvels, engineering marvels of the industrial age, and it was the longest single arched bridge in the world, so quite a feat really. And he was a character, well, interesting character on so many levels. He'd had it very difficult as a child. He'd lost his father when he was 2 years of age, and his mother had 4 children, having to bring up 4 children and run a small holding as well. And as he grew, he had a love for dry stone walling, and it became something that he excelled at, so much so he was soon in great demand everywhere in the area for building dry stone walls, and people would come from miles just to see his work. And in the evenings he would go to a local farm, and there someone took him under their wing, and he had lessons in arithmetic, and in what spare time he did have, he'd be down by Caerphilly Castle, sitting there making sketches, studying the architecture, the arches, and in the castle, and so on, and acquiring skills there. And in his early 20s then, he went to a school that was attached to an ironworks north of Cardiff, and it was there really that he learned to read and write in English. And there was a teacher that took him under his wing. He was a blind teacher, and very much became an influence in his young life. And yeah, there are so many parts to his incredible life story really. And it isn't the only bridge he built. He built other bridges as well, and his sons followed as well in the father's footsteps. And let's have a look here now. Right, so like I say, you'll be bluing in all of these things. You know, you just get a base colour down and then working on it. And so what I'll do at this stage, I'll just get the farm roof in. So I'll just get that in by there for now. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep it white. You can do whatever you want really, it's just a matter of it's your painting, what will make it look more effective. I'm just going to leave that there for now. Alright, let's get some of this field in here now. And it's surprising how I've got different greens going on here, and you've always got to be looking for that contrast where you want lighter greens where it's darker up there. Add a bit of white to it, tone him down a bit, just by there, and up just under there. But see, what I've got is strong shapes, and it's good shapes make good paintings, and great shapes make great paintings. So you've always got to be thinking in terms of shapes. Yeah, what people often don't realise, or wouldn't realise about Edwards the Builder, is that he had a friend who lived on Eglwysilan Common, who was known as Thomas William, and he was a carpenter, and they were very, very close friends. And they were, well, he was about 19 years of age with his friend Thomas William, and they were in Llanbradach. And I mentioned last week about Owl Harris, and they were listening to Owl Harris preaching. And it was so new, it was like something they'd never, ever heard before. How someone can have their sins forgiven, enter into a living relationship with God, where God becomes our Father. And it changed their young lives. And they joined the cause up in Watford Chapel. And Thomas Price, I mentioned last week, he took them under his wing. And it wasn't long before the two young lads, they were set aside to go out and preach the gospel. Something not to be kept to themselves, to be shared with others, too wonderful to be kept to themselves. And as a result of that, they began a work in the area. And then on the slopes of Eglwysilan Mountain, there was a spot chosen, and they began to build a church. And it was on a little pathway that went across as it were the slopes of Eglwysilan Common, known as the Pilgrim Way. Pilgrims made their way along these mountains way, way back. And so they built a chapel, and they called it Eglwysilan. And they became joint ministers together, ministered there. And when Thomas William died, Edwards the builder kept on as the minister, and was the minister there until he died. And Eglwysilan became a very, very important chapel in time. In fact, it became known as the Westminster Abbey of Wales, and it's still there today. You can still see the chapel today. Very impressive graveyard. But when Edward the Builder died, the graveyard wasn't in existence then, so that's why he's buried in the parish church up on the common. Now I'm going to get darks in the bottom here against the lights. But yeah, there's a lot more to his life than people realise. They just see the bridge in Pontypridd, and often little realise the background, the influences that shaped a lot of these men. So I'm only roughing in here. I'm not labouring it, because as I've shown you before, you come back in then. I'll be having a cup of coffee now. I've got my coffee with me. I'll be having a sandwich, and but for the first setting really and base, that's all I need to do. Don't need to do any more than that. Right, here's the finished painting, and you can see how I've put some more darks in here and then lightened, so what I had on was like a mid-tone, and then similarly here, but keeping more to the yellows and the browns rather than the blues and the cold greens, and distant hills, and then just worked roughly on the wall. And these little sketches are great when you're out, because your mind retains so much, and when you get home you're able to work on this and get more definition. And I put some sheep in here and there. Could have put cows, of course, but put some sheep in and cast shadows. And again, the light, I wanted the farm to sort of stand out. In reality it's darker than that and gets somewhat lost in the trees, but you are making a painting, and you're not slavishly copying what you see. It's your response to what you're seeing. That's what's all important. So there we are. Again, we're on the far reaches of the common, just before you drop down to Nelson, and you're more than welcome to join me next time on the common. I've got some other views that I think could be turned into some decent paintings, so you're welcome to join me next time.